Well, welcome back everyone. It's time to go one more round with this baby. Today's goal, remove the variable capacitor and remove the power transformer. But first, these light bulbs are driving me crazy. I'm getting tired of them hanging around out there. So what I'm going to do is we've got 3 wires going in underneath the chassis. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab this old cutter and I'm going to cut all 3 of them. I'm tired of messing with these things. I'm going to cut them all. Get them out of there. Where they go, I don't know. I have no idea. But they're gone now. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to take a piece of tape. I'm going to pull those wires back in underneath and tape all 3 together. I'll worry about reconnecting them later. Alright, there we go. I pulled them back underneath and taped them twice. And I wrote lights on them right there. You know, there's no set way of doing this stuff. You know, it's just the way I chose to do it. You can do it any way you want. And this always works pretty good. A piece of tape with something written on it. Never failed me yet. Now the tuning capacitor is held on by a screw right here. It's got an insulator underneath it. It also has this thing here that provides a grounding point for a lot of wires. And there's also another screw. That rusty one, I don't know if you can see it right there. 2 screws. There it is. Now you can see it, right next to that red stripe. We're going to remove both of those screws. And then we're going to cut this top wire. Let me get this wire over here. This wire here has to be cut. It's a solid wire. It's kind of interesting. It's the only solid wire coming out from underneath the variable capacitor. All the rest were stranded. It goes down to the oscillator, which is right there. So we'll just go ahead, make life a whole lot easier. We'll cut this right here. It's the only solid wire going from the top to the bottom down to the oscillator. Should be a piece of cake to identify at a later date, later time. So let's get these screws out and see if we can't get this thing off of here. I'm tired of looking at it. Well, it turned out there was a 3rd screw way down in there holding that variable capacitor on also. So we got 3 screws. There's another one way down in there. Alright, let's see what we can do from the top now. Incidentally, the 3rd screw off to the side there had a spacer in it. The others did not. At least I haven't come across one yet. Maybe I will when I take it off. Alright, here we go. Alright, okay. Ooh, look at the dust and crap on that. Here's something I've never seen before. We've got screws on the bottom of the variable capacitor where those 3 wires were attached. You know, we had a blue here, and a black in the middle. Up here, it appears that they're adjusted by not turning the screws on the bottom, but by turning these hex nuts on the top. That's really strange. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to have to really de-rust that down in there. I don't want to snap off one of these bolts. That would not be good. Not good for business. Alright, that comes off anyway. And underneath is this plate. Never seen one of those before either. Goes on where the 3 screws came through. 1, 2, 3. And of course, there is another couple more of those little spacers. I think that's one right there. Yep, this one right there. See? And the other one is still down in this insulator. I'll have to get that one out. Alright, there's where those spacers went, down through the center of those cushions, those mounting things. I'll have to get some of those somewhere. It shouldn't be too much of a problem. And there again, it doesn't hurt to go ahead and put your washer. I'm going to go ahead and put the washer on that nut, or on that bolt, and slip the spacer on. Then I'm going to screw them back into the bottom of the variable capacitor so I don't lose them. And I'll know which ones go in there. I'll do the other 2 now. Alright, that's done. Now all we have to do is get this power transformer off. And there's a capacitor that goes to the grid cap of the 2A5 tube. And it has a wire wrapped around it going to ground. It's kind of takes away any noise that might be getting into that grid cap. But all this thing here goes down to the center tap on the volume control. And there's a resistor right here that also gets soldered to ground. It's on the schematic, can't miss it. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and change all that out. I'm going to get rid of that. And we'll keep that around. We won't just throw it away for now. So now she's starting to look a little naked now, ain't she? Yes, she is. Here you can see the entire bundle of all the wires coming from the power transformer coming out through a hole in the bottom of the chassis right there. See that hole where they all come through? Right chair, right cheer. Okay, what we're going to do is disconnect each wire from the rectifier socket one at a time. Right here, that's the 80 rectifier socket. And we're going to be disconnecting 1, 2, 3, and 4. And as I disconnect them, now by disconnecting, I mean we're going to disconnect it like this. There it is, it's disconnected. And then I'm going to put a piece of tape on it and write down what number pin on the socket that came from. And that's how we're going to do it, just like that. So far all of the wires have been cut and labeled from the 80 rectifier tube socket, and I also labeled the one for the primary, one side of the primary. And the primary goes down and hooks to the power cord, of course. And the power cord is a cloth covered black cord, so I can just cut that off. I already labeled it with the letter P for primary. Okay? Do this any way you want that you find convenient. Now I have to find a couple of red wires that come out of that hole that go over and feed all the tube filaments. 2 red ones that come out of that hole. And looky here. There's one red one right there. And there's a second red one right there, right next to it. So those are our 2 filaments wires. So I'm going to cut and label those now. We are nearly at the finish line. I just got done labeling the 2 red wires. I put the letter F on one and the letter F on the other using the blue tape. Alright, as I suspected, there is a black wire coming out right here. All the insulation's about gone off of it. And it runs down here and it hooks to this one side of this capacitor right here. Now I've hooked up my multimeter. We'll hook it to where that thing hooks up right there. Now we'll take the negative lead and touch it to ground and see if we get a reading. If we do, then we know that's the black wire that is in the schematic. It goes to ground. It's the center tap. So here we go. There it is. How about that? That, my friends, is the center tap wire, that black wire right there. Now, all we have to do is find the last wire. Well, the only one left is this one right here. And it goes to one side of this flat capacitor. And it's probably that 0.01. It'll be that 0.01 C17. So this is the wire we already labeled. This one coming in comes down to one side of that C17 and goes to ground. And then of course this black wire here is hooked to the same ground. That's why they're both soldered together right here. Okay? Alright, I hope you can see that. Alright, all I have to do is cut, label, and then take the screws out and get the transformer off the chassis. The power transformer comes out by just taking loose these 4 screws all the way around. They're just sheet metal screws that fasten it right to the chassis. Alright, the transformer is loose. I'm going to thread one wire up through there at a time, and I'll probably take the tape and wrap it around nice and tight like this. Get it nice and tight and then shove it up through the hole. Okay? Well, there it is, folks, all disconnected. Pretty rusty, pretty messy, but we can make it look better. Next time we're going to take off the IF cans. I've never worked on or even seen IF cans that look like this, but they're just transformers in there, primary and secondary. We know they're good, we just have to be real careful. There's a bolt coming out of the bottom of each can that connects it to the chassis. I don't know where the other end of that bolt is. Maybe it's up here in the top. I'm not sure how those tops are on there. It's going to be interesting. Disconnecting the wires from the bottom is not going to be any problem. It's going to be interesting opening them up because I want to see what's inside there. You can bet there's a lot of crud in there. Anyway, I appreciate you one more time visiting with me. I hope you all had fun watching me rip and tear and destroy. And what is this? Where's that wire go? I don't. Who knows, you know? All right, we'll see you next time. This is John.